If you're anything like me, you've probably seen a lot of those AI-generated live streams popping up lately. AI Seinfeld, AI SpongeBob, I even started an AI Breaking Bad.
It's just a game that's popular right now. It'll die down eventually.
But it's not just social media. I was at the store the other day, and I saw a guy wearing a Mama's t-shirt. And don't even get me started on all the references I see in his shows. That's all the movies. It's like I can't escape this. Bitch!
It used to be that in order to run an AI stream, you had to have years of coding experience, put in hundreds of hours of work, and get an entire team to help you maintain it. But I'm releasing software today called Infinistream GPT that allows anyone to quickly set up their own AI live stream without any coding knowledge at all. In fact, it's possible to set up your own stream without typing a single line of code. This video will walk you through the first few steps in making your AI live stream, engineering the prompts, picking out the voices, and setting up the audio with the Infinistream GPT audio controller. I'll also show off some advanced features to help you get your stream viral in no time. The first step, obviously, is to play around with ChatGPT until you get something consistently funny. So for this example, I'm going to have it write me scripts for South Park, which I know is kind of ironic since they did that whole episode about ChatGPT, but whatever. After a lot of tweaking, I came up with this prompt, and I'm just going to copy-paste it because it's really long. This is really similar to the one I used for AI Breaking Bad, but there are a couple alterations that I'll show off later. And I'm probably just going to cut to when it's finished generating. So, alright, the script is done generating. I don't know why I bothered cutting it since it took literally 10 seconds, but it's about AI taking over the world, which is kind of par for the course for ChatGPT's writing, and it seems pretty entertaining. But now here's where the magic happens. If we copy in the same prompt as before, but add something crazy like make all the characters act like they're written by Tommy Wiseau, then we get something just completely insane. And if I keep adding random alterations like that, like make all the dialogue rhyme, or write it like a soap opera, or write in characters from other TV shows, it becomes super unpredictable and entertaining, even for longtime viewers of the stream. Next up, you gotta decide where you're gonna get your AI voices from. Right now, Infinistream GPT has two options coded in, UberDuck and Google Cloud TTS. I might add more in the future. UberDuck sounds way better. This is UberDuck, by the way. Has a really nice user interface, ton of funny voices. I mean, look at this quality.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I mean, it's not sponsored by them, but Raid, call me. I heard you guys pay a lot. But yeah, it has so many of these really nice features. It actually recognizes like explanation points and stuff, but it is prone to saying some unintelligible stuff, and also the characters have strokes. Some of the voices are way louder than the others. Looking at you, AI Sponge. But this is what most AI live streams use. So here's Google Cloud TTS. This is by far the cheaper option. UberDuck charges you $99 a year to use their API, but this thing gives you $300 in free credit as soon as you sign up. I used to run AI Breaking Bad on here 24/7 for weeks on end, and they never charged me a single cent. So here's an example of one of the voices.
With cloud machine learning, your application interprets...
Okay, yeah, you get the idea. But they're all crystal clear, completely intelligible every single time you use it, unlike UberDuck's occasional strokes and gibberish. And I'm pretty sure this is what AI Seinfeld used. I'm not entirely sure. They might have used Microsoft Azure or something. Personally, I think UberDuck is way funnier, but I wanted to include this option in case you want something cheaper and more professional sounding. Once you have your voice sources decided and have a general idea of what you want your stream to be like, you're going to need your API keys. So first go to OpenAI's website, go to this page, and download an API key from here. Then go to UberDuck if you're using UberDuck, and get an API key from this page, and you have to give them $99, but I mean, what are you going to do, right? You want their voices. And then for Google Cloud, it's a bit more complicated. You have to download a credentials.json file and then sign in on your Google account, but honestly, it's not too bad. Sorry if I'm rushing, I just don't want this video to drag on more than it already is going to. And then once you have those API keys in a safe place, you're going to want to download Python 3.9, and you're going to want to download Unity as well, I mean, obviously. And then Unity LTS release 2021.3.14 F1, which is what I made Infinistream on. And then finally, you're going to want PyCharm, which is the IDE I use for the Python backend. So once you have all of those downloaded and you set up your proper Unity version inside of Unity Hub, again, sorry if I'm rushing. If you have questions, feel free to message me on Discord. I'm super active. But once all that's done, you're finally ready to download whichever version of Infinistream you want to use. So now that you have all of the API keys and can open Infinistream GPT within Unity, congratulations, you've done basically all of the hard parts. Now you just have to configure PyCharm. So what you do is you just open up PyCharm and then go into File, Open, and then when you see something like this, navigate to wherever you installed Infinistream GPT audio, and then click on the scripts folder, which is within Assets. You can see it looks a little bit different. There's a little bit of an icon in the bottom right. So once you have it opened, then you can see this screen over here. It'll look something like this. Just navigate to wherever you find main.py, and then you can see there's a bunch of stuff that it has to import. The only one that should really actually have to be searched for is in this Python packages tab. Keep in mind this might look a little bit different, but there's plenty of tutorials on this online. So if you look up OpenAI, sorry, I can't spell. There we go. So for example, OpenAI, you just click on that and hit install. It should be somewhere around here. That should be the only one, but you can keep trying to run the main thing until it works. And also, I'm pretty sure it does this automatically, but in case it doesn't, and if it doesn't like recognize Python in your system, you click on this and then you hit edit configurations. Then you go into this Python interpreter thing, and then you have to select it from there. So I'm lucky because it's all automatically assigned for me, but it might not be different for you. Again, ask me on Discord if you need help. So now your Python should be completely ready to go, but there's still one last step, which is take those API keys you already have and put them into the program. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to config.json. This is like the giant control panel for your stream. Sorry if it looks a little bit complicated, but I promise it's not. I'll walk you through how it all works. So there's a spot here called OpenAI key. This is where you put your OpenAI key, and you don't have to do anything special here with it. You can just copy paste it. But with the uberduck key, which is over here under uberduck credentials, you have to go to the uberduck API website, which I will link in the description. It's right here. And you go into here, you click on Python. I'm going to ask for authentication. It should say basic. So you just put your normal API key. Sorry, again, I'm so bad at typing. Probably shouldn't have recorded this so late, but you just put in your normal API key and then your secret API key, and it'll spit out this thing. And this is just, don't be afraid, this is just base64 encoding. But that's what you have to do if you want to use uberduck. I'm not really sure why it's programmed like that. So what you do is you just copy paste this thing under here in authorization, and then you put it right into the uberduck credentials. And by now, your entire program should be ready to start generating a live stream automatically. Now that all the boring stuff is done, it's time to actually set up your AI live stream to generate what you want. So in config.json, all of this stuff is just devoted to help you control your AI stream. So for example, the main prompt, this is the most important one. This is the thing that tells it exactly what you want. So for example, I just want like a Breaking Bad scene directly after the previous one. Then I have some extra instructions. This is just formatting stuff to make sure that your script always comes out correctly. I'd recommend keeping this line in here about the proper formatting, especially the part about like name in caps and then dialogue. Also, I have this part about like making it tell a continuous story. That's not super important, but if you want your stream to do that, you can. So then I have the system message. This is what gets defined in the initialization of the OpenAI chatbot. Sorry if that's like really confusing what I just said, but it's basically the purpose of the bot. So for example, I just have it, you're a chatbot designed to generate scripts for an AI generated TV show. And I tell it to like tell it in chronological order and like keep the story going. I mean, not all AI streams need that. So I've made this option called remember previous scripts. So I have it set to true right now, but if you set it to false, it will have no memory of what it's done in the previous scenes, which is good for like an AI newsroom, or if you don't want your thing to have continuity, or if you just want it to like have the most ridiculous prompts imaginable. So I'm going to jump around a bit and talk about these three settings right here. But don't worry, I'll get back to these. It's just a little bit technical right now. So narrator turns on or off the narrator of the stream. So sometimes you might want a narrator in order to like explain what's happening. Sometimes you don't though. But I tried to include the option in case you wanted one. And then enable laugh track turns the laugh track on or off. A lot of AI streams have a laugh track, a lot of them don't. I just wanted to include the option. And then laugh track percentage. Sometimes you want a laugh track 100% of the time, and then sometimes you want it like only 10% of the time. So for example, Breaking Bad, I only get it to generate a scene with a laugh track about 10% of the time. But you can change it however you want. It goes from 0 to 100. You can also change the sound of the laugh track if you want. So for example, in mine, I just have laugh.mp3, that's what I'm calling the file, inside of the assets folder. And it's just a like self-explanatory 1960s canned laughter. And I mean, it works fine for AI Breaking Bad or just some like random stuff. But if you want, you can just change it to anything you want. So just take any sound from the internet, rename it laugh.mp3 and put it in the assets folder. I can't include mine while I'm like selling it. At least I don't think so. I'm just trying to play it safe because I really don't want to get like sued or something for having like a sound clip that I don't own or whatever. But you can just download one off of Freesound like I did and put it inside of the assets folder as laugh.mp3 and that'll play when you want a laugh track. So now we're going to go into what looks like the most complicated part of config.json. I'm really sorry if you're not a programmer and you're just like staring at this with your mouth open or whatever, but don't worry, it's actually super simple. So canon characters, these are the characters that you want at least one of in any scene, because the program will check the script generated by OpenAI and it'll automatically reject the script if it doesn't see at least one of these characters. This helps a lot with like if it gets too off the rails, like, you know, it just goes completely insane because it ensures that there's at least some relation to the original source material. The nickname section looks really confusing, but don't worry, it's actually really simple. So when you generate something with ChatGPT, you'll notice it calls the characters a bunch of different things. So like, for example, Walter, it calls him Walt, Heisenberg, Walter White, all sorts of crazy names. And all the nicknames thing does is it changes these names on the right into the name on the left. So all you have to do in order to use it is just to change these names around to whatever names your characters are. So like, for example, I just made up a character called 8 versus 8. Yeah, it's like sometimes the AI gets really confused. So this just helps anchor it and makes it more reliable. Here's where you say which voices go to which characters. So for example, Walter, you can see his name is just Walter White. Jesse's name is Scout from TF2 because they didn't have an Aaron Paul voice. And you just go down. Oh, Todd is JFK from Clone High. I forgot I did that. But you just do this for every single named character and also the narrator. Just make sure you have one for the narrator in case you're doing narrator. I just chose the Leapfrog announcer voice, but you could choose whatever you want. So for example, let's say you're adding Eric Cartman. So to add something like that, what you would do is you'd copy this, you'd hit enter, and then you'd paste it, and then remove the indent. And then let's say you want Eric Cartman as Eric. So then you would change the name to his model name on UberDuck. So I'll show you how that works. So you find the model that you want on UberDuck. In this case, it's just Eric Cartman. And you just hit View Details, and then copy the bot name into this, where it says name. And the program should handle everything else for you. Then we have the UberDuck rando voices. So these are all the characters that don't get assigned. So if you're running this for a while, you might notice it'll just start spawning in the most random characters you can imagine. I remember one time Walter White tried to join the Avengers, and they made fun of him, and he almost got called Meth Man. It was a really entertaining storyline, but this enables all custom characters that you didn't account for because you're going to see so many of them unless you like specifically tell it not to generate any characters other than the ones that you want. But these will assign them each a voice and make sure there's like no overlap unless it runs out of voices. So for example, mine is just like Peter Griffin, Matt Pat, Critical. Oh god, yeah, they're just all meme voices, but you can just change them to whatever you want, and the program will just handle everything for you. If you bought the Google Cloud one, it's a tiny little bit different on how it handles the voices, but honestly, it's not too bad. These ones have an extra gender parameter because of how Google orders them. So in order to pick out the voice, you're going to go on this website and you're going to go through all of these voices and try to pick out one that suits your character. And then you're going to have to put both this thing, which I guess this is like the ID. I don't know what Google calls it. Let me just check. Oh, it's called the voice name, and then the SSML gender. So you put both those in, genders in caps, and then it should do everything else for you, same as UberDuck. And also the rando voices have to do the same thing because, of course, Google had to program it in a really weird way. So right now you're probably thinking, well, this stuff seems all pretty basic. You can do this with any AI live stream. What's so special about Infinistream GPT? Well, I'll show you. If you open up descriptors.json, you'll see a bunch of these things called mood modifiers. And this is by far the most fun I've had creating this live stream. This is where you put all the crazy stuff that has random chances of happening. So it can be like pretty tame, like make it unintentionally funny, or like make it overly dramatic or whatever. And then you have some crazy ones sprinkled in, like make everyone speak like pirates, make one of the characters speak Korean for no reason. Sometimes I even have one where they just like figure out they're in a simulation and try to break out. That's always so entertaining to watch the chat reaction because they think it's become sentient. But no, it's just another method of control. This is actually kind of really dystopian when you think about it. But yeah, you can get so creative with these things. It's really fun. It's by far the most fun part of running an AI stream, just thinking of these crazy modifiers. There's also weights. So like for example, the unintentionally funny one has a weight of 20. The one where like it just generates it normally is just a weight of 20 as well. You want to space these things out. So you want it to have like for example, if you want it to revolve around different characters, that actually helps a lot with the pacing. It makes it way more entertaining to watch. And then you have crossover episodes involving celebrities or characters from other shows. You have like Jesus save the day at the end of the scene. All the characters praise him. You can get so creative. But yeah, this is by far the most fun part, just messing with these modifiers until you find something you like. So remember those things I said I would talk about later because they were too confusing and technical? Well, it's time to talk about them. So we have max index length, hours to generate text, and audio repo path. So all this stuff is for something I like to call the rotating scene buffer. So you don't want to generate new stuff like every hour of every day, because what if no one's watching? Then it just goes wasted. You want to save things and then rerun them for later, and then only generate new things at specific times in order to save on money and also so no one really misses anything. Mainly just the save on money part. I mean, with this thing, it costs like maybe it's like 15 cents a day instead of like $1. If you just have it generating at like 12 in the afternoon, for example, like I have. So like hours to generate text is 12, and then if you want it to like have 1, 2, yeah, and so on. Personally, I just recommend generating 1 hour of text a day, and then I'd have the max index length. This is how long the script buffer should be. Or sorry, not the script buffer, the scene buffer. So for example, here it's at 100, so that means it'll store 100 scenes in its memory and keep rerunning them unless it's at 12 in the afternoon. Then it'll start generating new scenes for an hour. And then audio repo path. This is where it stores all the audio files from previous scenes so it can recall them later. This is like super important, especially if you're using something like UberDuck, because they charge you if you go over. So now that you have all of this set up, it's time to actually run your AI stream. And all you have to do is just hit start on here, make sure there's no errors, and then minimize this, and then hit play on Unity. And remember, this is just the audio part.
Next, App Shopping Center, day. We open on a sunny day in App. We see Walter White now with a full head of hair and a crisp suit, sitting on a bench watching people pass by.
Hello there, Walter.
And now you can see that it's like trying to reset the chat bot, and it's generating all
Saul
sorts
Goodman,
of crazy
looking as
things.
flamboyant as ever, jumps into the frame from
I have
out
all
of
sorts
nowhere.
of things
And
here
Saul Goodman
just
is pretty
for
a lot. You know what's better than cooking
documenting
method
it so you know
practice
what
and
goes wrong.
supporting badly breaking on Patreon. It's an online platform giving a voice to all the people who've been, well, badly broken by life. People like Walter and me, for example.
Have you ever been trapped in an as it was filling up with toxic fumes? No, well, let me tell you, it's not a pleasant experience.
Okay, I have
but with
no
your
idea what
support,
it's
badly
doing. I think
broken
it's
on
doing
Patreon, I
a
can help those
commercial for
who've
my
been through the
Patreon.
same trauma.
That's
But,
not all, folks.
well.
Badly broken on Patreon can make your life better too. One of our rewards is getting a personal chill-out train.
Okay, that's not true. That is not
and one
true.
who tries to run you.
And if you pledge
Okay,
enough,
yeah,
I'll even send
don't
you a
listen
batch
to
of
them.
my own top-quality blue sky meth. Keep
Oh
in
no
mind,
no
though, it's
no
not for
shit! Oh
consumption.
god.
So what are you
Shut up,
waiting
Walter.
for? Open your wallets
Okay, yeah,
hearts
so
to badly broken on Patreon. Help us to keep our criminal legal enterprises afloat, and maybe you'll get a little bit of magic in your
okay,
drab and boring
that's
life.
enough.
Walter?
That's enough. Okay. That was actually not scripted. Oh my god, I could not have planned that better if I tried. So in case it shuts off and you need to reboot it, what you have to do is launch the Python project first and then the Unity project, because otherwise it won't like get the signal to start generating the scripts. And then if you want to restart it and it's not working, sometimes, even though this is super rare, if you like shut it off while it's generating new audio, sometimes you end up with this folder called new MP3s. And what you want to do is just delete that, because otherwise it'll think there's like a new scene generated and it'll like do some crazy stuff and the script won't match with the scene. So just delete that folder if it shows up and you want to restart it. And as always, just start the Python project and then start the Unity one. Expect similar videos in a few days once I launch my Infinistream GPT character controller, camera subtitles controller, all sorts of crazy stuff is coming. I even have a Discord bot toolkit in the works that will let you actually set up a Discord bot with little to no code. So stay tuned and just have fun with it. That's all I'm asking. And you will hopefully go viral. So good luck.